So I've been in a bit of a reflective mood lately, and I've been thinking about my own journey through health and fitness. And I've come up with a really cool analogy that I want to share with you in this video about the stages of mastering healthy living that I think you're going to find very powerful. And I was reflecting on my own life, and you may have heard my personal story. The reason I got so passionate about health and fitness is because I watched my own dad lose his health from working so hard and not taking care of himself. He got a cancer diagnosis and he died when he was just 42 years old. I was 9 years old at the time. And one of the great blessings is my mom gave me a pair of my dad's old dumbbells, and I began to train. And I got my body stronger, and I got so passionate about learning everything I could about health. And as I fast forward into my years of competitive bodybuilding, into medical school, into starting Fit Father and Fit Mother and helping all these parents along the world, I've realized that there are 3 stages to mastering healthy living that I want to share with you. And I think the perfect analogy here is actually looking at the movie The Matrix and the main character Neo and his journey as he moves into becoming the One. So in The Matrix, Neo is this guy who's going through his day-to-day, and it feels a little mundane to him, and he's kind of stuck in the Matrix, this unreal world that is basically just code generated. And I think in our modern society, that's like a perfect analogy. Like right now, we have a very unhealthy, sick culture where a lot of big companies and corporations are just trying to sell us these kinds of foods or these kinds of drugs. And many of us feel like we're stuck in a matrix, and we have this moment where we're like, man, I gotta wake up here. Like, this is not serving me, it's not serving my family. I don't feel good, I know something's off here. So you have this wake up moment. And so Neo meets Morpheus, and he ends up choosing to take the red pill, which is the point of no return. And when he does and he comes out, one of the first activities that he and Morpheus do is they plug him back into the matrix from this conscious state, and he enters stage 1 of mastery, which is learning the rules of the game. And there's that classic scene from the movie where Neo's like, I know Kung Fu.
I know Kung Fu. Show me.
It's amazing. He's starting to learn the rules of the game. And this is the exact stage that you must move through in your health and fitness journey, right? You must learn the rules of the game, particularly around nutrition. And there are so many rules that we could talk about, but I want to rattle off a few that I think are very meaningful and relevant as you're in this early stage. The first one is that sugar is addictive, and that foods that have added sugar are not meant to improve your health. And in fact, these are foods that you should identify and get out of your life. These are all the snack foods. These are the sugary drinks. Like, they're just not serving you. So that's one rule. 2, when you're designing your meals, you should focus on protein first. Like almost all health influencers, no matter what side of the camp they fall on, are basically saying, focus on protein. It's really important for metabolism, for muscle mass. And I totally agree. So every meal that I have should be built around protein. That is a really substantial rule. Another one is to find your go-to healthy foods. Like, these are your favorite foods that you actually enjoy eating, and build your nutrition plan around that, because I think the key to good nutrition is to be sustainable. So in the stage of learning the rules, you want to figure out what yours are and have go-to meals built around those foods. So for me, it is eggs, it is salmon, it is greens, it is fruit, it is cacao, which is dark chocolate that I use as a stimulant. So I have these on an almost everyday basis, and it really helps build my consistency. Another thing is to find the kinds of movement and exercise that you love and do that consistently, because we all know the converse. If you're doing stuff you hate, it's going to build up friction, you're going to fall off track. So you got to find and build around things you love. I'd also say it's a good idea, and another rule is that getting the right kinds of fiber in your diet that your body processes well is really good for your health. So find the fruits and veggies that agree with you and get those into your diet on a regular basis. And I'll say also be intentional with times you do cheat meals. Really ask yourself, is this worth it? Is it worth it for me to have this food right now? And really figure out how you feel with that. And then of course, when you're in the beginning stages, recognize that you're a beginner. Give yourself some grace. When you're learning the rules, this doesn't happen overnight. So that's the first stage. Now, when Neo wakes up and he knows Kung Fu, it's not like he's a master right away. He moves into stage 2, where you need to actually practice the rules and follow them and then get feedback. And this is where he consciously goes back into the matrix, starts to do some of his missions and figure things out. And this is where, once you have enough of the understanding of the landscape, you start to practice, and this is a stage that can take years, and then receive feedback. Here's an example of how this works in your life. As you're figuring out healthy foods to eat, I want you to really pay attention to which foods bloat you and which foods make you feel fantastic. Because there are foods that people would say are categorically healthy that if you eat, you will feel bloated, your poops will get messed up, and that'll be a huge indication that these foods aren't right for you. And so this is transcending just like a rule on paper. It was like, oh, beans are good, or oh, whole wheat bread is good, or rice is good. Like, you need to figure out which foods are actually good for you. And this requires the practice in the second stage. And I'll say as a rule of thumb, it's really most important in the carbohydrate containing foods, the complex carbs, the rices, the pastas, the breads. Like, I'm not saying you can't have these foods. In fact, in our meal plan and the Fit Father and Fit Mother Project programs, we give these as options for people to have. You know, we're saying, oh, try some sprouted organic bread, see how you feel. Try white rice, try brown rice, try sweet potatoes, try yams, try purple potatoes. You're really just getting feedback to dial in what makes you feel amazing. Because when you find those, then you can build those into your routine, and then you have the flexibility and the abundance as opposed to scarcity. Another thing you can do in the second stage is actually get feedback in more objective measures like blood work. Like, get blood work every 6 months or so and see how your level's changing, especially if you have any chronic disease right now, like dyslipidemia, high cholesterol, triglycerides, blood pressure. Like, track these things, and then you're getting feedback on how the thing's moving. Because I know a lot of people that actually think they're doing a good job, they get blood work and like, man, this aspect of my health is not moving, and that gives you indication to make a tweak. So let's say you find that your cholesterol is still staying into a very high range and you have some inflammatory markers, then you can make a switch and dive a little deeper into the rules and maybe the subset of the rules that are really relevant for you. So it's about feedback in this phase. I would also say this is a good time to go deeper into the nuance of even more learning. So really go down those rabbit holes. Start to go down rabbit holes on the different kinds of vitamins and supplements that you could possibly take that enhance your health. Try them and see which ones actually make a meaningful difference for you. A lot of them won't, but some of them will. And once you find those main staple ones, you can get those in your body on a daily basis. This is also a time to really practice going out into the world, ordering healthy food at restaurants, figuring out how to stay consistent when you're on vacation, right? This is about the practice and the feedback of different locations that you're applying the rules in, the context. Super important. And again, this is a stage that can take years of constant practice, and it's a really fun and powerful stage. And I also say with exercise, like, this is where you try different kinds of training and you start to be like, oh, I did this kind of strength training. Maybe now I want to start to focus on more running. Maybe now I want to focus more on my mobility and stretching. Get the wider palette of the different things you can try, because the more experience and the more breadth of experience is going to really help in your third stage we're going to get to in a second, where you have true mastery, when you have a bigger understanding of landscape and you start to make those powerful connections. This is where it really becomes fun, and you become a lot more stable in this phase. Small things no longer derail you. Now, if The Matrix ended there, it would be a really boring movie, but it's not. It's one of the great movies of all time in the hero's journey, because stage 3 is when Neo realizes that he can break the rules, that he no longer needs to operate within the lines of the code and the frameworks and the paradigms that he was playing in. He had some degree of power, but the real power of becoming the one is to break the rules. This is stage 3 of mastery. When you have enough landscape, you have enough experience where now you can break the rules. So this looks like many different things. One aspect would be you relax a little bit. We see this with a lot of health influencers and people that have taught health for years. You know, after a couple decades down the line, they've tried everything, they've done so many different things, they really know what works for them, and they relax a little bit. They eat more fruit, they exercise a little bit less, they might put on a little bit of weight, but they're happy, and they also know how to really navigate the landscape and get back on track whenever they want to. So there's a lot of freedom in that. It's like the happy Buddha, if you will, like the wise enlightened master that has a little bit of extra fluff on him because, you know, he's cool, he understands, he's confident and sure within himself, and maybe that's not the perfect analogy, but you get the idea. There's some kind of wisdom in the slightly more relaxed experience of this where you don't have to be as rigid. I think people who are massively rigid, who are tracking all of their macros, they're really dialing into the calories, they're either training for something very specifically or they're in stage 2. And I'm not going to say that stage 3 is necessarily better than stage 2, it's just different. It has a little bit of nuance and flavor. But at the same time, stage 3 doesn't mean you are always more relaxed. In fact, it could almost be the opposite, where you really start to dial everything in for a very specific goal. So you might be in stage 3, and you might be like, it is now my goal to get as jacked as humanly possible. And if this is the case, then you can calibrate all of those inputs specifically for getting jacked. And this would be, maybe you start taking TRT or exogenous hormones. You get all of your nutrition dialed completely into maximizing muscle growth, which is not always the same thing that maximizes health and longevity. There are slightly different nuances here. So, and that's an instance of like really focus on that goal. Maybe you can focus completely on gut health or on cognitive health, and that'll shape all those different strategies from a more holistic approach to something that's more pointed. And there's mastery in that because you're doing it intentionally. So I think that's a really cool concept. In stage 3, you also might take what I would call some side quests. Do some different interesting things that you can do with your body. So maybe you try a solid food vacation where you just drink juices for several weeks. Maybe you do a multi-day water fast. Maybe you go plant-based for several months or a year. Maybe you try the carnivore diet completely out. You go into these extremes intentionally because you have the full landscape. And this is where, unfortunately, I think because those extremes are very sexy, people get attracted in stage 1 to those extremes. And they go and do these things, but they don't have the overall foundational basis. And so it typically is not sustainable long term. But when a master engages in this, and master from the definition of having more experience and context, it can be very helpful and valuable. And then I'll say this too, it's not like you just stay in stage 3 forever. Sometimes in your experimentation in stage 3 and learning, you get some kind of unlock that's so substantial that it moves you back, I guess, into stage 2. You're like, wow, I just figured something out, or I just learned something new that is so paradigm shifting that now I'm gonna go back into stage 2 and play with this new paradigm. And then at a certain point, you'll spiral up and out back into stage 3. So this is fun. I think I wanna share this because it makes this whole process of living healthy a little more like a game, a little more like an adventure, a little more like a process. And I think where many people feel the heaviness around their bodies is because their identity is so tied into it. It feels like it's such a hard thing. They're not finding the joy in the learning process. Their self-worth is like tied into what they're doing. They're neurotic in trying to manage all these variables. And so I just want to share this to add a different perspective here that will help you relax and also have some grace with yourself in every stage that you're in, and also reflect hopefully on your own journey about where you've been. So whether right now you're in stage 1 and you're completely learning the ropes, well, welcome to our channel. This is probably the perfect place to start because we literally have hundreds of videos across Fit Father and Fit Mother on how the rules work and the different rules in different categories. So check out the channel, check out our programs at fitfather.com and fitmother.com and learn those. Maybe you're in stage 2 and you're playing around, you're a little more advanced. Amazing, like you're in the perfect stage. Keep on bolstering your enthusiasm by trying new things. And I'll say at stage 2, it's really important to get a support system of like-minded people who encourage you to keep on going. You know, listen to influencers like myself and other people really get in these learning journeys. And if you're in stage 3 and you're some degree of mastery, I see you and I honor you. That is absolutely amazing. Don't be afraid to hop back into stage 2. I know I'm doing that in certain aspects of my health and my life, and it's really fun. So, hey, we have these bodies, we're human, we're here together, and it's really cool that we get to learn and have the joy of experimentation here. So I hope this analogy resonated with you as it did with me. And I want to say this too, is like my team and I, this is what we do professionally. We help tens of thousands of parents, most over the age of 40, get their health and fitness right by managing this journey and coming into community where we all do this together. So if you're looking to shake some things up, if you want a structured program to get you up and going on these habits, to learn the rules, learn how to play the rules, and then even learn how to break the rules, we got you covered inside our Fit Father and Fit Mother communities. There's links in the description where you can get our free plan that also allows you to join our email list. Or you can check out our full program. We launch a new group every single month. It's called Foundations. I'd love to have you in there. But overall, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check some of the other related videos on our channel. And if you like this, please actually hit the like button. It makes a huge difference for how this video goes across YouTube and the internet. It makes me really happy, so make me happy, yay. And subscribe too, if you haven't, because we have more amazing videos like this. And I'm taking the content that I'm making for Fit Father and Fit Mother very serious this year. I'm sharing deeper messages, fun stuff like this, a lot of practical workouts and recipes and so much more. So subscribe for more videos that'll be delivered directly to your feed. This is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi signing off. Hope you enjoyed today's video as much as I did. I'll see you around the channel and we'll talk to you very soon.